The cyber insurance market can learn lessons from the experiences of the Nat Cat industry. I'm Yvette Essen for CyberCube, and I'm joined by Oli Brew, Head of Client Services for CyberCube, to talk about the parallels and the differences. So, Oli, can you tell me, first of all, what lessons can the cyber market learn from significant Nat Cat loss events when modeling risks?
Thanks, Yvette. Absolutely. There's been a huge amount of progress in the modelling world in the last 30 years since natural catastrophe models were first introduced after Hurricane Andrew. And since then, the modelling has really progressed and become much more advanced and more sophisticated with better use of data. The cyber risk model industry, of course, is much younger, only a few short years. And we have huge lessons to learn from how models have developed, how they can be deployed within an insurance company, and how regulators are looking to models and the way they're used to help with capital allocation within insurance companies.
Can you highlight some of the differences between the systemic risks of natural disasters and cyber events?
Sure. So as I said, there are some similarities in the way we think about natural catastrophe risk and in the way that we think about cyber risk modeling. However, there are also material differences. To begin with, the way we think about cyber risk is, of course, it's a man-made peril. There are active adversaries out there seeking to cause malicious damage to companies all around the world. And that risk is changing very rapidly. The rate of technological changes is increasing, and the way that we use data is changing as well. The challenge, of course, is that in the world of natural catastrophe risk, those risks are much more stable. It's a more static peril. And so that makes it a lot easier, in a way, to think about how much confidence we have in the way those models are used.
Can we talk a little bit about modelling? I mean, what do we consider to be a major cyber catastrophe? I mean, has that even been a significant loss yet, in our opinion?
That's one of the big challenges of how we think about a cyber risk model and how they're applied within the industry. There have been major events, and when we think about systemic modeling and cyber catastrophe risk, we're talking about events that potentially cross economic sectors, even geographies. Cyber risk could be sometimes thought of as completely geography agnostic. The challenge is that not many of these events has caused a significant enough event to create a capital issue for insurers. There have been events that have come close, the most obvious being the WannaCry ransomware campaign in 2017, shortly followed by the NotPetya attacks of the same year. And that NotPetya event is estimated to have caused somewhere between $4 and $8 billion in economic loss. Now, it's hard to translate that into insured loss because many of the companies impacted did not have insurance. But it certainly is a forebearer of things to come and will impact the way that we think about the potential for systemic risk to create economic impact for the cyber insurance industry.
Finally, can I talk to you about history? If history is not a predictor of the future for the cyber market in terms of modelling, then how can models actually be accurate?
That's a great question. And one of the challenges with historic view of risk is that you're looking at last year's data. And of course, in that static world of natural catastrophe, that can be very meaningful. When we're thinking about the rapidly changing world of cyber risk, it's much harder to use that data in a meaningful way. And there are lots of challenges in the way that data is collected, curated, and used. When we look at the data, the different types of data that we can deploy can provide a hugely valuable forward-looking view of risk. We do look at historic data and the types of cyber incidents that have occurred, but we also look at other factors like security data. So, for example, we look at outside-in security data that can understand better the perimeter of an organization, as well as inside-out data from behind the firewall, to use that data to create a more holistic view of the organization's security. And when you take that data right across a portfolio of companies and then apply the creative way that we develop scenarios where this type of systemic risk could manifest, that's where we can really create a meaningful forward-looking view of risk. And that's where it's different from the way we look at natural catastrophe modeling, which is much more in the rearview mirror.
For CyberCube, I'm Yvette Essen in London with Oli Brew.